We were talking about something that I think is a really good one, because people always think that video games are frivolous.
Gaming, yes, the thing that's been dismissed as a waste of time by so many.
But what you were saying, I think that's really important, is
actually one of the most intense mental workouts you can get.
It's so difficult that it requires you to only think about that.
Think about it.
And it can like relieve stress.
When you're deep into a game, your entire brain is laser focused.
Yeah. It can take out the rest of the world because it's so hard.
Your body tunes out everything else.
Yeah.
You can only think about that.
No stress, no worries, just pure concentration.
Yeah, I mean, if I play a video game on extreme difficulty, then
this isn't just a way to kill time.
I have to concentrate fully on the game.
It's a mental reset, a full brain detox.
And it has a calming effect.
Elon Musk, the guy who's literally trying to take us to Mars,
it sort of chills down.
Says that when he's immersed in a game, especially one that pushes him to his limits.
It's like, I think anything that forces you to concentrate fully.
It's like his mind reaches a state of total clarity.
Actually has a calming effect. I find it just kind of a restoring effect mentally.
Yeah.
It's like, it's good.
Imagine that one of the busiest, most brilliant minds on the planet uses gaming to unwind and sharpen his cognitive edge.
Jiu-jitsu's like that.
Yeah.
Archery's like that as well.
Yeah.
Like when you're shooting a bow, you have to think only of it, and it cleans the mind.
It cleans the mind, yeah, exactly.
It's not just about fun. It's about survival in a high-stakes world.
I was reading this study about surgeons, where they found that surgeons who regularly play video games make less errors.
And it's not just Elon. Surgeons, pilots, even drone operators.
I mean, video games require manual dexterity, so it makes sense.
Completely makes sense.
Are finding that the hand-eye coordination, the rapid decision-making skills honed through hours of gaming, are crucial in their day-to-day lives.
If somebody was like epic at video games, I'd say like their surgical skills can be very good.
In fact, studies show that surgeons who game make 32% fewer errors and are faster than their non-gaming counterparts.
Look at this, 32% fewer errors, 24% faster, and scored 26% better overall than their non-player colleagues.
Can you imagine that? A future where playing video games is part of your training to save lives.
Oh, I believe that for sure.
That's incredible.
Well,
like that, you should be required in medical school to play video games.
Sounds crazy, but the evidence is stacking up. And it might just change the way we think about what's really useful in our modern world.
Don't you think?
If somebody's like a top-ranked video game player and they say they're a surgeon, I'd be like plus one, plus two type of.
Let's be real for a second. How many of us have fallen down the rabbit hole of obsession?
And then we would all start playing video games and playing Quake against each other. And I got addicted.
Whether it's binging on a Netflix series,
StarCraft, or any game like Quake, any game where a lot of people are playing.
Scrolling endlessly through social media.
To rise to the top, you have to be exceptional.
Or staying up all night playing video games. We've all been there.
Period. As a human being.
Yeah.
There has to be something exceptional about you.
Yeah.
But where does that obsession cross over into mastery?
Actually, if I mention Quake, way back in the day, I was one of the world's best Quake players.
I know we talked about this.
Yeah.
For Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, gaming wasn't just a pastime.
In my final semester in college, I probably put more time into Quake than all my college classes.
It was a full-on immersion into worlds that demanded their best.
Studio where they all played Quake. I had never played video games. And I would go in with the writers and just kind of hang out with them. We'd get silly.
Joe talks about building custom PCs.
Like hardcore. I got a T1 line installed in my house.
Linking up landlines and gaming until his eyes hurt.
I went hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. Checking how many milliseconds of latency.
He was obsessed. But here's the thing.
I was fully addicted. I was making my own computers. I was buying motherboards and putting everything together. And
obsession is only a bad thing when it lacks purpose.
You know, it was too much of a time suck, though.
Yep.
For both Joe and Elon, gaming wasn't just about escapism.
If you play late at night and you're tired, you just play badly.
It was about testing their limits.
You may think that your brain is working well, but it isn't.
Pushing their minds and staying sharp in a world that's always on the edge of change.
Yeah.
You play the video game and you're like, you suck. So, okay.
Yeah, you're putting it under stress.
And that's the fascinating part. Gaming becomes a mirror, a way to see exactly where you stand mentally.
Yeah, you're really stress testing it.
Elon even uses it to gauge how his brain is working on any given day.
Because like sometimes like, oh, I think I'm fine, but then you play the game like, okay, I'm not. I'm like 10% below what I should be.
If he's slower, if his reactions aren't as sharp, it's a signal that something's off.
That's how I feel about workouts, for sure. Like, that's how I knew I had COVID.
What other tool do we have that gives us such instant feedback on our mental state?
Trying to not get COVID, and so I was working out. I was like, something's up.
This is more than just entertainment. It's personal data, a real-time reflection of your cognitive performance.
Like, I felt fine normally, but then during exercise, I was like, okay, I can tell there's something wrong here.
And maybe, just maybe, it's time we stop dismissing it.
So let's just back off, relax.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears. You've probably heard the saying, you are what you eat.
Do you know what really helps? Creatine, apparently.
Does it?
Yeah, creatine is actually a nootropic, believe it or not.
But what if the food you eat could make or break your mental clarity?
There's a lot of like benefits of creatine that are really weird.
Are there any downsides?
For Elon Musk, the answer is simple.
But
like I did switch to like steak and eggs for breakfast, and I found that's like a power up.
Steak and eggs, no carbs, no crashes.
We're all overrun with carbohydrates.
Now, I know what you're thinking. How could something as basic as this be the key to mental performance?
You stay flat if you eat like a primarily high protein, high fat diet.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out our brains thrive on consistency.
Your body runs off ketosis, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I just have like steak and eggs, no bread or anything.
Yeah.
High protein, low carb diets keep our energy steady, our minds sharp,
And
It's great.
It's great, actually. It's a power up, I'd say.
and our bodies fueled without the roller coaster ride of sugar highs and crashes.
Yeah, totally.
And you do, like, carbohydrates make this big crash, the rise and the crash,
totally.
the rise and the crash.
But here's where things get even more interesting.
People dismiss this whole carnivore diet thing because in our heads, there's a lot of propagandists that
Joe Rogan, never one to shy away from controversy, takes on one of the biggest misconceptions of our time.
put this thing out there that animal agriculture is the #1 contributor to global warming.
Yeah,
The idea that animal agriculture is the #1 cause of global warming.
It's
it's rubbish. It's not
bullshit.
true. Bullshit.
It's hot bullshit.
It doesn't matter.
According to Elon, this is nothing more than propaganda.
The animals are not going to make any difference to global warming if people eat fewer steaks. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
A convenient story spun by those with a vested interest in plant-based alternatives.
Irrelevant. I want to just be super clear about that. You will not even be able to measure it, okay? That's how irrelevant it is.
The truth is the way we farm, not what we farm, that matters.
But the real problem is factory farming.
Regenerative farming, for example, is carbon neutral.
Isn't it funny that that's
Unmeasurable.
That's
Irrelevant.
a heretic speaking. Like, that's crazy talk now.
And in some cases, it even helps sequester carbon.
Nowadays, it's like you have to say that we have to eat less meat.
Imagine a world where our diets not only fuel our bodies and minds, but also help heal the planet.
No,
That meat
we
is bad.
can totally eat as much meat as you want. It's not going to make a difference.
Sing it.
It's a radical thought, but maybe it's time we reconsider the narrative we've been sold.
Sing it. Tell
Yeah.
the world.
And if somebody says it does make a difference, I'm like, how will you measure it? And if you can't even measure it, then it's bullshit.
Now, we can't talk about the future without tackling one of the most controversial issues of our time:
Well, there's so much bullshit out there.
free speech. Elon Musk didn't buy Twitter just because he was bored or wanted another toy to play with.
The reason I bought it was because I'm pretty attuned. I was like the most interacted with user on Twitter before the acquisition.
He bought it because he saw something fundamentally wrong with how information was being controlled.
If they change the system, I can tell immediately. Something weird is going on here.
The suppression of stories, the deplatforming of voices, the manipulation of public narratives.
I just got increasingly uneasy when they deplatformed a sitting president.
It's the kind of thing that once only existed in dystopian fiction.
He was posting good things. He was saying like, hey, do not riot.
But in today's world,
Don't do any destruction of property.
it's all too real.
Please stay calm. That's the kind of stuff he was posting.
Joe Rogan calls Elon's takeover of Twitter
It was kind of a crazy move.
fork in the road for humanity.
I'm not exaggerating when I think you changed the course of history. I really do.
And he's not wrong. This was about more than just a business decision.
We were headed down a path of censorship and of
It was a fight for the soul of free speech in the digital age.
control of narratives that is unprecedented.
Without platforms that allow for open debate, how can we ever hope to reach the truth?
Forget about what they were able to do back when they had newspapers and the media under control.
Social media has become the new public square.
What they were doing with social media by suppressing information and when you had a combined government effort.
But what happens when that square is owned, controlled, and filtered by a select few?
Like what they were doing with the laptop story.
Yep.
Elon's vision is clear. Twitter, now X, needs to be a place where all voices can be heard.
If you didn't buy that, we wouldn't have known that. We had no idea.
Exactly.
Where no one is silenced simply because their opinion doesn't align with the mainstream.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's wrong with that? Then some people said like, oh, that's like some sort of dog whistle. He means the opposite.
And here's the kicker. If Elon hadn't stepped in, we may never have known just how deep the censorship rabbit hole really goes.
Well, you have 51 former intelligence agents saying that this is Russian disinformation.
Yes.
Take it offline.
Yeah.
And Twitter complied.
Yeah.
This is about preserving our right to question, to challenge.
I'm like, okay, so we'll give you Trump's account. Now you post what you think you should post.
And to think freely.
Because you can post nothing. You can ask people to calm down.
And in a world where narratives are tightly controlled,
Like what?
that's a battle worth fighting.
It was insane. Like it didn't make any sense.
So here we are at the crossroads of technology, food, and freedom of speech.
Well, it's completely illogical when you say it's dog whistling to tell his followers to not be violent. That's
Yes.
crazy.
The world is changing faster than we can keep up.
And then there's the fact that we know that there was agents in the crowd.
But one thing remains constant, our ability to shape that future through the choices we make today.
There were agent provocateurs that were encouraging people to do illegal shit.
Yes.
We know that for a fact.
Whether it's pushing our minds through gaming,
Incredible reaction times and manual dexterity, they're obviously going to be a good surgeon.
fueling our bodies with the right nutrients,
The animals are not going to make any difference to global warming. They can none.
No, it's
zero.
horseshit.
Suppose zero is nothing.
or standing up for our right to speak freely.
It was always the big Alex Jones type tinfoil hat conspiracy theory.
The conversation is far from over. The question is, what will you do with the information you've learned today?
Because Alex proposed that back at the World Trade Organization protests.
If you're ready to keep questioning, keep thinking, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below, because this is just the beginning.